Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Hockenheim for the qualifying session that's going to set the grid for the sixth race of the 2019 Euroformula Open season. As you join myself, Ben Evans, and Elliot Wood on a beautifully sunny morning here in Hockenheim. The cloud cover of yesterday has already burnt off this morning, and these are really lovely conditions for the drivers. They head out onto the circuit. They have got 25 minutes with which to set the grid around the 4.5 kilometres that plays host later this summer to the German Grand Prix. This, of course, the second race of the weekend, and yesterday, if you didn't join us, then it was Marino Sato who took the win from Jack Doohan, with then Marino Sato's Team Motorpark teammate Liam Lawson completing the podium. And so far this weekend, it has been a shootout a little bit between Team Motorpark and Double R Racing, but it's the Carlin team who have taken the track in force early on, and we're watching Tepe Natori, one of the quartet of Carlin runners, who is out just getting a little bit of heat into the Michelin tyre. There is the man who's currently third place in the championship, Lucas Dunner, for Teo Martin Motorsport, but Lucas having his worst result of the year so far yesterday with a 7th place. So, Elliot, lots of talking points from yesterday's race, and also I think lots for the teams to reflect on overnight. Yeah,
there was quite a bit of strategy variation yesterday, and a lot of the teams ran kind of the same strategy they used in qualifying for the race. So it'll be interesting to see if they're going for the same approach today in qualifying or trying something different, because this is a circuit that's new to the Euroformula Open Championship.
Just looking at the brace of Fortec entries as well, that's Cameron Das and Callum Williams, as Linz Lundqvist picks his way past Keyard as the cars head out the double right-hander and on to the start and finish straight. And what we saw yesterday was the bulk of the times in the session being set in the second half of the qualifying period. So we will see whether or not that is the case once more today, because what we saw yesterday, Elliot, was in qualifying trim, the cars were quite effective with lower downforce taking advantage of the straights, but that over the course of the race was mean the cars were going away from the drivers a little bit.
It did hurt some of the teams in the race, yes. Going through the race, obviously tyre graining is usually an issue, and a lot of the teams felt the rear was getting quite loose towards the end, and those are the ones that had stuck with the strategy, the setup they'd used in qualifying. But the main result of qualifying was set on who could get clear traffic, nobody else on track around them, and set a clean lap.
We're watching Billy Munger, winner of the Pau Grand Prix 7 days ago, and good to see a number of companies now on the side of Billy's car, and he's really learning the ropes in the Euroformula Open. What we've seen for Billy all year is qualifying has been a little bit frustrating, but he has generally raced very, very tenaciously. Yesterday he finished in 12th, but that didn't really reflect actually some of the adventures he had along the way.
Yes, he overtook 5 people in the first lap to rise them to the top 10, but was shuffled back down the order and had to do the climbing all over again throughout that race. But I think although he missed out on the points, he should have been proud of that result for overtaking so many people.
Glimpse there of Liam Lawson. Here is his Team Motorpark teammate Yuki Tsunoda, and Lawson had a huge spin at turn 1 yesterday, which, as it transpired after the event, was because his leg rest had come loose in the car. And of all the places for that to happen, turn 1 isn't really the one you'd want it to be.
Yeah, and for those who don't know what a leg rest is, think of it as like an egg box that keeps the driver's legs, stops them from moving, stops them from hitting the sides of the cockpit when they're going at speed. And it pushed down on Lawson's legs, meaning when he tried to hit the throttle pedal, he had a large block of a polystyrene-like substance in the way.
So he's foaming at the bit, all pun intended, to get back to it this morning, as Yuki Tsunoda finished 4th yesterday, 3rd rookie, and it was the start yesterday that let Tsunoda down. He qualified well up, he just spun up the rears coming off the line. That meant that he got swamped into turn 1, although he raced very well to recover through the field. He couldn't quite latch on to the podium. Yuki Tsunoda yet to win a race this year. He's had 2 trips to the podium, however.
He was very happy with his pace yesterday, but as you said, the start did let him down and resulted in him finishing a very distant 4th.
So what we saw in yesterday's race was that it was possible to overtake, but he's really snatching the brakes, isn't he? Quite a lot, Tsunoda, so far this session. Here is that, yes, you could overtake, but you really had to work for it. Yesterday's runner-up we watch now and that is Jack Dunn, who looked very assured yesterday and was the driver is leading the charge against the Team Motorpark runners.
He was very fast in free practice, and he carried on that form into qualifying. But in the race, he generally felt that the car was just a little too slow to bring on race-winning form. But he got the most out of it when he could, and when Lawson span, he took his first podium in second.
So he'll be looking to challenge for today. It's currently Tepe Nattori who is fastest, but this all comes with the caveat a little bit that the first phase of the session is not really where we would expect to see the times being set, as it is Nattori currently from Lucas Dunner, and then in third place it's Marino Sato. Now, pole position yesterday from Marino Sato was a 1 minute 31.9, and Tepe Nattori's last lap was a 1 minute 33.6. So they're about 1.5 seconds away from probably where we'd expect them to be.
This is the first session of the day, so the track will be at its greenest. So I believe yesterday's qualifying session was held a little later when the track was a little faster. And, yeah. We should see the times coming down very quickly as they lay some rubber down on the track.
Yeah, they were fourth on track yesterday morning for qualifying, if memory serves correctly, as Tepe Nattori improving his pace, as is Linus Lundqvist. We continue to watch Yuki Tsunoda rather, and Tsunoda currently second in the session, just 72 thousandths slower than Nattori last time around, but Tepe Nattori is going to post a pretty rapid time on this occasion, waiting for him to come past us as we pick up Liam Lawson, accelerating out of the turn 6 hairpin. And here comes Tepe Nattori now then, accelerating through. He's just been shuffled to third and then goes back to pole momentarily. So Lucas Dunner now quickest in the session, a 1 minute 33.038. Tepe Nattori, a 1 minute 33.098. And then Cameron Dass in third with a 1 minute 33.295.
Interesting to see that just before Dunner went quickest, Aldo Festante was first, and he had his previous lap pings for track limits, but Teo Martin Motorsport, which runs Dunner, Festante and Samaya, had a very different strategy in qualifying yesterday.
It's Billy Munger seesawing at the wheel a little bit as his car slithers across the curbs. But great, those super slow-mos over the curbs. You really see how stiffly sprung the suspension on these cars are and the amount of load that's transferred through the driver's bodies as a result.
And that shows how on the limit that corner usually is before they even hit the curbs.
Turn 1 is not for the faint of heart, that's for sure, as Yuki Tsunoda has just gone fastest, a 1 minute 32.768 for Tsunoda. And of course, one of the things in this championship for some of the teams new to the series this year is that you're not allowed to warm your tyres during these qualifying sessions. You've kind of got to warm the tyre actually just by driving around the track, and I think 1 or 2 of them have been spotted, judging by a timing screen, for maybe trying to get away with the odd weave or two. They all run on a controlled compound Michelin tyre, and the brake balance of Yuki Tsunoda's car is quick, but he keeps snatching a brake into heavy braking zones.
Yeah, the right rear brake keeps going in on the right-hand corners there, and there's 2 of those on this track that are very much hairpins, so he's obviously setting his car up possibly with end of straight speed in mind.
So he accelerates out of turn 10 now, down towards turn 11 into the Motordrome section of the track, which is the part of this Hockenheim circuit that wasn't remodelled heading into the 2002 season when the version of Hockenheim that we now race on was incepted.
And Fortec Motorsport's Cameron Dass has just jumped up to second with a 1:32.909, so that's 2 tenths behind Tsunoda, who's about to cross the line again for another lap. We're going to see if he's going to beat his best.
Looking unlikely, and indeed it is, a 1 minute 32.936 as he powers on through turn 1, runs pretty wide on that occasion. So whether or not he's going to be heading towards the pits, we shall find out, because yesterday we saw them go out, do a run, and then have a bit of a pause in the pit lane before pressing for times late on. And we're getting to that point of the session about 10 minutes in, whether we will see whether or not that is repeated, as Julian Hansers goes fourth, 1 minute 33.081. So we've got in terms of the split of times, and the top 7 all covered by just 4 tenths of a second.
Yesterday, I do believe we had the top 14 covered by just under a second, 0.93 if I'm not mistaken. We've got Lucas Dunner crossing the line now. He was in third place and he was set the fastest first sector, and he's just gone top, 1 minute 32.455. That's 3/10 faster than Sonoda's best.
And he found a phenomenal amount of time through the final sector, which was enough to push him clear of the field. But Marino Sato is currently on a good lap, and here indeed was Sato. He ducks into the pit lane, and so clearly he has got his sights set on a brand new set of tyres.
Unusual choice by Sato there, because he credited his pole yesterday to getting on the track when there was clear, when there was no other cars around him, and he could have got a very good lap in there early on in case he hits traffic later on.
Yes, good point, because he's currently down in 10th. Nikolai Kieryard is now the driver who's on the move. He's got a bit of a tow coming from Lucas Dunner. Here he is then, and he was 55 thousandths of a second up through the first sector, but that's only 20 seconds. The sector 1 beam is just after turn 2, whereas it's really this middle sector which covers all the way through turns 3 to 10, which is where the lap is made or lost. And nonetheless, this is a good lap thus far from the Carlin driver. Whether or not he's going to go through to complete it, we will see, because the bulk of the field is taking the opportunity to peel off into the pit lane, having all pretty much completed 6-lap runs. Jack Doohan's just gone 5th for double R, as the Carlin driver indeed does head towards the pit. So the point you were making earlier on, Elliot, about the track very quickly rubbering in is being proven in these early stage session. We've got one car that's going to come on past us. That's Callan Williams, the Australian, who doesn't improve, so he remains in 12th.
Only 1/10 off his best though, so he may have one more lap in these tyres to go quickly while there's nobody else on track.
So the pit lane filling up. It's just Callan Williams and Billy Munger who are currently circulating. That looks like an absolutely brand new set of tyres for Guilherme Samaya.
And we've got to watch carefully if any of the teams are making adjustments to the wings here. Small setup changes in between runs.
Yeah, there's two things to really watch for. It's the, as you say, the wing setup, but also if anybody is trying to keep a set of brand new Michelin tyres in reserve for the race later, which is something that we've seen in the past as work. They look like brand new tyres for Liam Lawson as well. No adjustments particularly either for Lawson. Here's Christian Hahn, who was spectacular in yesterday's race, being spectacular in qualifying as well, catching the slide of the car as he just broke the limit of the aerodynamic grip. So the last of the cars that's circulating, Billy Munger peels into the pit lane now, which is just going to be followed by Callan Williams, as it would appear from what we're seeing, Elliot, that most of the teams are pretty happy with their base setup. We're not seeing many adjustments at the moment.
Yeah, we haven't seen anyone crouched over the wings with a small tool spinning it around to make any changes. All the drivers are very calm as well, so it suggests they're already focused on putting in the same strategy for the next run.
Well, that's kind of the key, isn't it? Is just keeping the concentration and then waiting to push with track space permitting. All the while, of course, the qualifying clock continues to tick down. So we have got just over exactly 11 minutes left in the session. Yesterday we started seeing people emerging with sort of 9 or so minutes to go. So this is an opportunity to admire the cars in the pit lane.
What we may expect here is some of the teams at the back of this picture, at the very end of the pit lanes, come out first. Because you see the Carlin quartet here, they're at the very front, so they'll have no cars ahead of them if they head out first, which will be very important when in terms of traffic on track.
So there's two things to consider with traffic, which is one, obviously the cars around you, but two, and as an adjustment actually for Christian Hahn, is that firstly, they don't want to be surrounded by other cars, but secondly, if they go too early, they will be catching cars that are on their out laps while they're on flying laps.
And you also want to time your fastest lap to be when the track is at its quickest, towards the end of the session. And you won't want to be doing that if you're crossing the line long before the checkered flag.
So Marino Sato clearly having a conversation
And it looked like one of the Red Bull cars behind was also having some wing adjustments there on the front wing.
I just wonder whether that could have been Yuki Tsunoda just looking for something to give him a little bit more bite into the heavy braking areas. But the other balance always with the setup as well is, as Aldo Fastante rolls the dice and he goes early, is the setup that makes you feel most confident as a driver isn't necessarily the quickest setup for the car, and that sometimes you have to drive with a little bit of sort of discomfort in order to play to the car's strengths.
Especially on this circuit where you want a car that was super strong on the limit through turn 1, but that may mean it's slightly weaker in the slower, tighter corners later on the lap. And we've got a replay of Nikolai Kjærgaard also hitting the curbs here at turn 1, I believe. A lot of drivers have done that.
They're all riding the curbs pretty heavily, as Fastante doing what he did yesterday, which is going out for this run a little bit ahead of the rest of the field. So he has got the benefit of the empty circuit with which to start to set his time into the Sachs curve, left-hand hairpin.
And we have another of the cars exiting pits now. I believe that's both double R cars, Linus Lundqvist and Jack Doohan. I'm going to see on the timing screens if they're showing.
We've got Rui Andrade and Tepe Notori have come out, as has Jack Doohan now, as you spotted. So, and Linus Lundqvist. So the session is up and running. Now this is exactly the issue for Aldo Fastante, as he came through turn 1, Linus Lundqvist just emerging from the pit lane. And Fastante, what we saw yesterday is it takes about 2 laps to get the Michelin tyres up to temperature, then they can start to push for the flying laps. And this is the second of the laps for the Italian.
And although this strategy didn't work yesterday, he could benefit from a slipstream through the long Parabolica curve right now. It looks a little too far away to benefit straight away, but we'll see what his sector time is when he comes through.
He's not got anything yet from Jack Doohan, and Doohan is very emphatically in outlap mode at the moment. Now the key here for Fastante is actually wants to clear that double R car before he goes into his full-blown flying lap, and Jack Doohan sees that he's there, moves aside.
We've got more of the cars leaving the pits. I believe that's one of the Fortex, at least one of the Red Bull Motorpark cars as well.
The bulk of the field now out on track. In fact, it's just Marino Sato and Callum Williams, who, according to our timing monitors, are yet to head back into the session. And all the while, of course, the clock ticks downward.
Aldo Fastante 2.6 seconds down in second sector, so looked like he was bulked there by Doohan rather than benefiting from a slipstream.
Yeah, he seemed to be just biding his time for passing it, but now Aldo Fastante heads into what should be a flying lap. Now, Marino Sato and Callum Williams, I have to say, are leaving this pretty late into the session. So Sato, at best, is going to get 2 rolls of the dice here with which to set a lap, and you could well be right, Elliot, that the opportunity that wasn't taken to put in a banker from Marino Sato may come back and bite him a little bit if he gets caught in traffic.
Yeah, that would have put him on provisional pole, we believe, if he'd completed that lap. And we've got several cars already bunched up in the final sector, so there's small groups of cars together with traffic, so Sato may be able to leave the pits with nobody around him.
Now what's interesting here is Aldo Fastante has done his best first sector of the session, which is actually 0.2 slower than Marino Sato's best sector that was on his in-lap. So there's still a little bit more to come from Fastante as he winds his way through turns 8, 9 and 10 onto the second half of the back straight. In the background behind him, he's got Tepe Notori in pursuit, and Fastante, this is going to probably put him into the territory of about 1 minute 32.6, which runs a little bit wide next to the Sachs curve, which he did actually quite a lot in qualifying yesterday. It's not a bad lap, and it's going to be his best lap of the session, but it's unlikely to be one that's going to give him pole.
Very true, and although he qualified well yesterday, his race only lasted 2 laps, so he'll be looking for a good result today.
1 minute 32.8 for Aldo Fastante, but he embarks on another flyer. And we see on the exit of the Sachs curve, and that is living pretty dangerously.
And although we have seen drivers had times disallowed for track limits at turn 1, we haven't actually seen anyone get pinged for doing that later in the lap.
To be fair, there's very little advantage to be gained by being all four wheels off in the exit of the Sachs curve. But the driver who is having a good lap now is Tepe Natori, a 1 minute 30, a 19.7 through the first sector. Linus Lundqvist also a 19.7. So now we're beginning to see some of the expected front runners beginning to piece together laps that may see them challenging for high grid position.
Verstappen has improved on his first sector this time round. He's not faster, but because of the jumping over the curbs at turn 1, we're not sure if this lap will count.
No benefit in the toe for Tepe Natori, as Verstappen well up through sector 2, but so is Natori, and Natori is about 2/10 up on Aldo Verstappen through this lap so far, and this is going to be in the region of a 1:32.2, 1:32.3 for Tepe Natori as he heads through the double right-hander to end the lap. He's got one of the Teo Marti Motorsport cars, Lucas Dunner, right in front of him, but Natori shouldn't have been slowed. He goes second, a 1 minute 32.493 for Tepe Natori.
What Dunner did do there was slow his teammate Aldo Verstappen. Coming through the final few corners, he got in the way of his teammate, who was on a personal best, it was looking like, but that means Verstappen's down to 5th.
Linus Lundqvist goes fastest, though, a 1 minute 32.2 for Lundqvist, and that all came together in the last sector. Julian Hanses, meanwhile, has just set the best first sector of anybody in the session, and here is the German. The middle sector of the lap is about 45 seconds or thereabouts, and so that really, on a 90-second lap, is where it's made or lost. And Hanses is just up as well through the middle sector into the Sachs curve, and a 44.9 through the middle sector from Hanses. So at the moment, this is looking likely to elevate him just up ahead of Linus Lundqvist, probably a 1 minute 32.1 or 2, and here he comes then over the line, and it's a 1 minute 32 dead. So very impressive through the final sector from Julian Hanses, and that gives him a buffer of almost a quarter of a second.
Lundqvist has set another personal best in second sector, but will that be enough to, very heavy over the curbs there, will that be enough to push Julian Hanses off top spot? It doesn't look like it coming through the final few corners of the lap.
No, Yuki Tsunoda now goes fastest, 1 minute 31.909, 2 minutes and change left in the qualifying period. This should be an improved time for Linus Lundqvist, but it is not an improvement in position, a 1 minute 32.1 for the Swedish driver.
Most drivers are improving. I think Marino Sato is now on his first flyer, but he's now down in 13th place.
He's got time, though, for 2 laps, just about. As here is Yuki Tsunoda, and Tsunoda ahead of himself through the first sector. Heads around the very tight hairpin at turn 6. Accelerates on his way. And what we haven't yet seen is what Jack Doohan can do. He was right up there yesterday as Nikolai Kjærgaard goes 5th for Carlin. That's a good lap for him, just behind teammate Christian Hahn.
They've been towing each other around the lap, it looks like.
Yet to see Liam Lawson and Marino Sato's best efforts yet, as Tsunoda is on the cusp of doing probably our fastest lap of the weekend. Yesterday's pole was a 1 minute 31.908. He's just a thousandth of a second adrift of that, as Liam Lawson goes quickest, 1 minute 31.9. So he moves top of the times by 9 thousandths of a second. Yuki Tsunoda, however, likely to pit that, and it's a 1 minute 31.6 for Tsunoda.
Aldo Verstappen's jumped up to 5th at 132.3, and that is almost a second behind, it looks like.
Lucas Dunner goes 4th with a 1 minute 32.082. We've got team managers for Double R and Motor Park to report to the stewards after qualifying, so we'll see what that comes to, as Marino Sato goes second, 1 minute 31.7. We have had a time deleted for Billy Munger for track limits at turn 1. As the checkered flag goes out, and Marino Sato, months more on a very good lap. He is up through sector 1, and it is Team Motorpark currently locking out the top 4 places in the session, with Lucas Dunner in 5th, Linus Lundqvist in 6th. But has anybody got any response, as when they come through this time it is to take the checkered flag, and Liam Lawson needs to find about a quarter of a second to take pole position, and he finds a little bit of it. He goes up to second, 17 thousandths of a second adrift of Yuki Tsunoda, but Tsunoda and Sato are both still flying, and here is Marino Sato. As Yuki Tsunoda takes the flag, a 1 minute 31.5. So Marino Sato, he appears to be up. He's got a little bit of traffic though that he's going to catch. Is Tepe Natori through the double right-hander to end the lap. Is that going to cost Sato out of the final corner? And Marino Sato takes the checkered flag and pole position, a 1 minute 31.469 for Marino Sato. So he takes pole position for the 6th race of the Euroformula Open season in Hockenheim. Superb lap from Sato once more. Yuki Tsunoda into 2nd. So here's how they qualify then. Marino Sato in pole. Yuki Tsunoda 2nd, 47 thousandths of a second back. Liam Lawson in 3rd, head of Julian Hans's Team Motorpark, locking out the front 2 rows. Lucas Dunner into 5th, with Linus Lundqvist in 6th. Yesterday's runner-up, Jack Doohan in 7th. Aldo Fustante into 8th, ahead of Christian Hahn, Nicolai Kjærgaard, and all Carlin row 5. On to the second half of the field. Cameron Dass in 11th, just clear of Tepe Natori. Those top 12 all covered by under a second. Then it's Guilherme Smar in 13th, head of Billy Munger, Callum Williams, and Rui Andrade, who completes the pack. We will be back later today for the race, so make sure that you join us for that. As Marino Sato heads back around to Parc Fermé. So the race this afternoon, make sure you join us for it, gets underway just before 1 o'clock Central European time. Can Marino Sato make a clean sweep from the weekend? Join us then to find out. Until then, it's goodbye from Hockenheim.